Hey guys, my name's Doug with Infotainment.com. Today we're in the new body 2019 and up Ram truck. This includes the 1500 through the 5500. Today I'm going to show you guys all the different factory radio options you have to upgrade using Infotainment.com's upgrade platform. There's 4 different types of radios that you can install. I'm going to show you guys how each one installs and the features of each one. So in this particular truck, right now we're in the base model Bighorn. This here is the UAA. It does not have satellite radio. So the first radio I'm going to show you guys is the UAA with satellite radio. Then we'll move into the UAM, which is an 8.4-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability. Then we're going to go to the UAV system, which has a high-resolution display, built-in GPS navigation with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And then finally, the 12.1-inch UAX system. Full navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, everything. So we're going to take it step by step. So let's get started. Alright guys, the first radio I'm going to show you, as I mentioned, is the UAA with built-in satellite radio capability. This will be for you folks that have the Tradesman or the base model Bighorn that have this particular radio here without satellite radio. Very easy install. I'll show that here now. You have 2 different options when it comes to the satellite radio antenna. We do carry a factory antenna, which can mount on the exterior of the vehicle, route it inside the vehicle, and then plug it in the back of the radio with this curry-colored factory clip. Or we have another antenna, which is an aftermarket antenna with a magnetic base. It's a lot easier to install. Comes with a multiplexer, which I'll talk about here in just a minute. But in either case, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove this dash panel here, okay? Just held in with 2 screws. It doesn't matter if you have the center console with the armrest and everything, or you have it a standalone system like this here. You're just going to have 2 7mm screws up here. So we'll go ahead and remove that now. All right, the first thing we're going to do is lift up on this tray here, the liner. Set that aside. That exposes the 2 7mm screws. They are also Phillips head, so you can also use that. But basically, we're just going to want to remove those screws, and then that's it, guys. This whole panel pops out of place. There's retaining clips around the circumference of it, so you could either just grab it and pull it. You can use a pry tool and kind of work your way around, but I found it just as easy just to pull it, and the whole thing just comes out. So now what we can do is we can start disconnecting the connectors behind it. Alright guys, now that we have this dash panel pulled out alongside the radio, there's going to be 4 screws we're going to want to remove. There's 2 here on the lower part, then 2 on the upper part. These are also 7mm or Phillips head screws, so we'll go ahead and remove those. Once you do that, you can just lift up on this brace here, just comes right out, and then you can pull the radio out. We can set this aside. We can go ahead and install on the exact same location the replacement UAA radio with built-in SAT. Alright guys, now we have the UAA installed in this dash panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to install the satellite radio antenna. Now, as I mentioned before, you can install the satellite radio antenna on the outside of the vehicle for the best reception, but I've also found that installing it just beneath this speaker plate does the trick as well. So basically, if you use your pry tool or flathead screwdriver, you can get up under this panel here and pop it out of place. The base model trucks that do not have satellite, actually this will be open. There's never going to be a speaker in here. So you could put your antenna in here, whether it's the factory one or the aftermarket one. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and route the aftermarket one. So basically, we're going to route it below here, and then we're just going to kind of route it back here behind the radio cavity. And then what we can do is we can put some double-sided tape on it or whatnot, whether you have the factory one or the aftermarket one, whatever you choose on our website. And it actually works out pretty well just right down in here. So we'll go ahead and snap back in. Now we have this wiring here. So this is what I'll explain now. Basically, what we have here is a multiplexer. So we have our satellite antenna input. The vehicle itself already had a GPS antenna input because the radio features the compass. So we're going to plug that in, and then this plug will plug into the satellite radio input, which is the curry colored connector. So what we'll do now is we'll plug in all the existing plugs that we unplugged with now this plug, which goes into the curry colored connector. This is going to provide not only satellite radio, but also retains the GPS signal to make sure the compass works. So now we can plug in the rest of our connectors. All right, now that we have everything plugged in, we can just fit it back to place. Then it snaps right back in. We can reinstall our 2 screws here, and then put our liner back in. Alright guys, now that we have our 2 screws in up on top and then our liner back in, let's go ahead and start it up and check it out. So right away you'll notice the SXM icon here. This now gives you the ability to have factory Sirius XM in your truck.
Start with an artist you love, and then make your new station just the way.
And the aftermarket antenna that we installed, you'll also notice that your compass continues to work. Now, one thing to point out, if you go with the factory antenna, you will no longer need that blue antenna because the factory antenna has not only GPS but satellite radio receptions built into it. So as you can see, compass continues to work, and then more importantly, we got satellite radio now. So just a great entry-level upgrade. Those of you who just want satellite radio, who have the UAA option code, easy install as you could see. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move up to the UAM. Alright guys, this is the second level radio, the second level up. This is the UAM option code. 8.4-inch touchscreen, does not have embedded GPS navigation, but it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Again, very easy install, plug and play, all pre-programmed by Infotainment.com. This is going to be an awesome upgrade for those of you who have the UAA. You can get the UAM so you can have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So I'll show you now how to do it. It's basically going to be the exact same procedure, except for once we remove this center bezel along with the radio, all we really need to retain is this controller down here, which is just held in with 2 Torx screws. Alright guys, what we have here is this lower controller. This can be pulled out easily. We're going to pull it off of this bezel. It's 2 T15 Torx screws at the top here. So we'll go ahead and remove those 2 screws. Once you remove the screws, there's going to be 2 tabs at the top and 2 tabs at the bottom. Basically what you're going to do is pull those tabs up to slowly press it down. Release the lower tabs as well, and it just slides right out. Then you literally take it and put it into the replacement like that, and then just reinstall your 2 Torx T15 screws. Alright guys, as you can see, we now have it all installed. This down here, it's ready to be plug and play into this truck. Now, one thing to take in consideration, sometimes we'll send you this kit in a couple different pieces, like this center black bezel comes separate than the instrument panel here. If you do get it in separate pieces, all you have to do is just remove the screws around the perimeter of your existing bezel and put them on the one that we send you. But in this case, everything's already been installed. Most of the time it will ship like this, okay? So basically all we're gonna do now is just plug everything in just the way it came. In this particular video, we did have to run a satellite radio antenna because this vehicle did not feature it, so we'll go ahead and plug that in, as well as the rest of the cables. The main 52-pin connector here has a lever on it, so whenever you install it, make sure the lever is up and then lock it into place. To remove it, you just press it, lift it up, going back in, make sure it's in the up position, press it back down. Now it pops into the exact same position, reinstall our 2 screws and put our liner back in. Alright guys, now that we have the 2 screws in and the liner, we'll go ahead and start the vehicle and check it out. So right away you notice the nice big 8.4-inch display. Such a big difference between this and the UAA. Within the radio soft key here in the home row, you have AM, FM, and Sirius XM. In the media section here, you'll be able to access your USB if you have something connected to it, Bluetooth streaming, so on and so forth. The phone section here, you are going to want to repair your phone, so you hit yes and then pair your phone. Apps allows you to drag and drop different things down to the home row, so you can easily access it. Compass, obviously we're going to retain that. Settings menu allows you to come in here and change different settings within the vehicle itself, whether it's the audio, what happens in different features and functions here. So that's really cool. One of the biggest reasons why this is such a popular upgrade is because it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability. So literally just plug your lightning cable in to your USB input, then connect to your phone. And then you'll notice a CarPlay soft key will appear. Now you have built-in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Awesome safety feature, guys. Quick demo. The phone, you can make and receive phone calls. Apple Music, for those of you who are subscribed to that, can access your music quickly. Apple Maps, you'll be able to get to where you need to go. You can tell it where you want to go. You can set a destination. The voice guidance comes through the speakers, which is cool. Messages, awesome feature here, guys. As you're driving and someone texts you, you'll see it scroll up on the screen. You hit accept, it'll read the text to you and allow you to respond to it using your voice only while you keep your hands on the wheel. So that works really well. Now playing tells you the media you're currently playing. Podcasts, those of you who love podcasts, listen to the Infotainment Talk Radio podcast. Great podcast that we do here at Infotainment.com. Audiobooks at bat for you MLB fans. Google Maps, some of you like that as opposed to the Apple Maps. That's awesome there. Sirius XM for the phone users. Spotify here. Use your library recently played. Great. One of my favorites is Waze. Similar to Google and Apple, but it tells you about speed traps, traffic jams, stuff like that. Just an awesome upgrade here, guys, the UAM. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the step up from this one to the third level, which is the UAV with built-in GPS navigation. Yeah, I did want to show you the backup camera image. You do retain your backup camera, also your zoom, for those of you who have a tow hitch. but you could see the clarity and how nice of a picture it is here with the new Ram's digital camera. And what a great field of view right here to be able to see everything with the larger touchscreen. So a great safety feature. Alright guys, what we have here is the UAV option code. It comes with a gloss black center bezel here. This is a high resolution touchscreen, phenomenal picture. It does have embedded GPS navigation. As you can see, the back is a little bit different. So the way that the UAV works is it uses a separate screen. So you'll need additional connectors. So I actually designed this cable here. This is a pre-production cable. Basically, this is going to install easily in the back, which I'll show you in a little bit, to retain your factory wiring. And then also you'll have an LVDS cable, which is a digital signal going from a module in the vehicle going to the screen. So let's get started. Alright guys, just like the other upgrade, we're going to remove this lower controller with the 2 Torx screws on the top here. We're going to pull it from this bezel and we're going to put it on that one. Alright guys, now that we have the lower controller installed, we're going to go ahead and set this aside. Alright guys, now what we want to do is we want to install the UAV module. Now this is the brains of the whole upgrade here for the UAV upgrade. So basically you'll notice these 4 locations here, this is where it's going to screw into. Now since this vehicle didn't come with this, Ram didn't put the nuts in here. So what we'll do is we will include not only 4 nuts, but also 4 screws, so you can adhere that into there. So we'll do that in a moment. So let's talk about wiring. So this connector, or this series of connectors, is for the radio. We do have a satellite radio antenna here. We did run this earlier in the video. If you have factory satellite radio, this will either be a teal color or a curry colored. So we'll set this aside. Now what we're looking at is a few extra wires. This is your cigarette or switch power source that's on the top. We won't be dealing with that quite yet. So let's look at these connectors here. This black connector here plugs into your climate control module, okay? This one here plugs into that lower controller that we keep switching out. If you have the trailer brake system, the electronic trailer brake, this connector will be plugged in there. Those of you who do not have the electronic trailer brake, it will be taped back from the factory. It's actually pre-wired for that. We do carry that on our website, by the way. So anyways, what we're dealing with in this particular case are these 2 connectors. So our custom cable here to make this install possible, or part of it, is actually going to plug in here. This will plug into your climate control, and then this will plug into your display screen. As I mentioned, this is a prototype harness. The production harness we have coming here in the next week will have labels on it so you can know what to do. But this is basically it. This little one here is not used in this application. What we're going to do now is just pop these nuts into place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plug one end of the LVDS cable into this lower white connector here. The rest of the plugs will be just like the other radios. You plug them in the exact same way. So once it's all plugged in, kind of just tuck the LVDS cable back a little bit. But now we can use the 4 included screws to screw it into place. Alright guys, now we're going to plug in our display center stack. So we're going to have our cigarette lighter plug up here. We're going to have our LVDS cable plug in here. Our new infotainment harness will plug into the display screen. And then the other end of our infotainment harness will plug into the climate control. Plug the gray plug into the lower controller. If you have the brake controller, you will have a spot for this connector to go to. In this particular case, we do not. So basically, it's as easy as just plugging in these connectors, plugging in our cigarette lighter, and then popping it into place. We can now install those 2 screws on the top. All right, guys, the next thing we're going to want to do is run the programmer. This is going to reprogram the BCM in the vehicle to accept our UAV upgrade. So we partnered with OBD Genie to come up with a programmer. This is an awesome programmer. It makes this possible. So basically what we're going to want to do first is we're going to want to connect the security gateway module bypass. So there's a module, I just took this panel off, you don't need to, but there's a module located right back here that has 2 connectors in it. Just simply reach up and disconnect those 2 connectors, and then plug those 2 connectors temporarily into the bypass. Alright guys, those of you who have a heavy duty RAM, the 2500 through 5500, the security gateway module is actually located behind the cluster, the speedometer cluster. So if you scroll to the end of the video, I'll show you heavy duty customers how to install the security gateway module bypass at that time. Now we're going to put the vehicle in the on position, or the run position rather, and then plug in our programmer into the OBD2 port. You'll see a series of lights, but when we get the green solid light, we're going to disconnect it. Now that we have the green light, we can disconnect it. Now we're going to shut the vehicle off. We're going to disconnect the bypass and stow it away. We will no longer need it. And then we're going to plug those 2 connectors back into that module. All right, now we're going to go ahead and turn the vehicle on. Right away, you notice the nice 8.4-inch touchscreen here with the high-resolution display. Just an awesome display here. Backup camera, everything, just crystal clear. Steering wheel controls, you retain everything, guys. This is 100% factory Mopar Ram parts. So similar to the UAM, you have the AM, FM, SXM for satellite radio, media, climate controls. Now, those of you who are coming up from a non-automatic climate control to an automatic climate control, it will take a couple of sleep cycles of the vehicle for everything to display properly. But you notice here it's on. You have your app section here, so similar to the other vehicles, you can, in the other vehicles that have the UAV system, you can drag and drop. This has built-in nav. Now this nav, guys, is awesome. So get in your car, set your home, set your business, whatever. It takes you where you need to go. The directions come out of the speakers. You can search by address, points of interest, so on and so forth. You can actually tell it where you want to go, and it will pick that up. The map here is phenomenal. It has the pinch to zoom feature. Just really neat. Has 2D, 3D maps. Also has 3D landmarks for those of you who are near downtown areas. In the settings menu, which is pretty neat, this one features it, is the set theme. You can actually come in here and set different themes, or wallpapers rather, for your truck. So just an awesome upgrade here with the high resolution display and the built-in GPS navigation. You just jump in the truck and you're on your way. So now I'll show you just real quick, similar to the UAM, the CarPlay obviously is going to work the same way. You're just going to plug in your lightning cable, press CarPlay, and bam, now you have it right here on your display. So just a really, really cool upgrade is the UAV system. All right, guys, the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the UAX option code with the 12.1-inch touchscreen, built-in GPS navigation, built-in Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. This is a phenomenal system. The installation process is going to be nearly identical to our UAV. Okay, so we're going to pull that out. We're going to use all the same connectors. We're going to plug this in. So this is going to be such a great upgrade. I think you guys will like it. All right, I know you guys are getting sick of watching it, but I want to be as thorough as possible. We're going to remove the lower controller here using the 2 Torx T15 screws, removing those and putting it on the back or the bottom of your 12-inch screen. Alright guys, so basically as I mentioned, the UAV and the UAX install procedures are nearly identical. If you rewind a little bit in the video, you'll be able to see how I installed this. So this is the UAV radio brain. So we're going to go ahead and remove this, and we're going to install the UAX radio brain. It looks identical, it's just a little bit of a different module internally. So we can remove this and then install the UAX module. Okay, so just as I mentioned, similar to the UAV, we have our infotainment harness here, except we're not going to plug this into anything. The only thing we're going to use here is just this end, and the other end will plug into the 12.1-inch screen. Our LVDS cable will plug in here, as well as our other remaining connectors. So this connector will just dangle. This connector here, which is taped back, is only if you're going from a UAV from the factory to the UAX. Okay, so in this particular installation, we're in a bighorn, so we're only going to use this. We're going to only use this connector here and this connector here. Everything else we'll plug in and we'll just pop it in place. We can now reinstall our 2 screws and then put our lid in. Alright guys, the next thing we're going to want to do is run the programmer. This is going to reprogram the BCM in the vehicle to accept our UAV upgrade. So we partnered with OBD Genie to come up with a programmer. This is an awesome programmer. It makes this possible. So basically what we're going to want to do first is we're going to want to connect the security gateway module bypass. So there's a module, I just took this panel off, you don't need to, but there's a module located right back here that has 2 connectors in it. Just simply reach up and disconnect those 2 connectors, and then plug those 2 connectors temporarily into the bypass. Alright guys, those of you who have a heavy duty RAM, the 2500 through 5500, the security gateway module is actually located behind the cluster, the speedometer cluster. So if you scroll to the end of the video, I'll show you heavy duty customers how to install the security gateway module bypass at that time. Now we're going to put the vehicle in the on position, or the run position rather, and then plug in our programmer into the OBD2 port. You'll see a series of lights, but when we get the green solid light, we're going to disconnect it. Now that we have the green light, we can disconnect it. Now we're going to shut the vehicle off. We're going to disconnect the bypass and stow it away. We will no longer need it. And then we're going to plug those 2 connectors back into that module. All right, guys, here we go. We had the security gateway module plugged back in. We're ready to test it now. So basically, what I wanted to say is you're going to maybe have to sleep the vehicle a few times, do a couple key cycles before all the features are present on the screen. But we're ready to go now, so let's go ahead and start it up. And right away, you notice the nice big 12-inch screen. This is all plug and play, guys, right here by Infotainment.com. Such an awesome upgrade. Here within the bottom key here, you see the 87.7. That is the radio station, obviously. So you have Bluetooth streaming audio, AM, FM. You could select the source here. Let's just say you want to drag Sirius XM over, and that way you can have it, right here in the home row. So you can, use that particular feature. You have AM, FM, and it does also include HD radio, okay? So you notice it picked up that right away. And the sounds amazing. Sometimes with these Ram trucks, the lows are pretty low, so you want to get into the equalizer and adjust those, maybe down a little bit. Under the controls here, this particular truck is a base model, so it doesn't have any heated, cooled, or vented seats. So you're not going to see those present. If you have those, it will be pre-programmed to show that once we get your VIN number. The climate, obviously, we'll be able to control our climate here. The other thing I wanted to mention too, those of you who already have dual zone temperature control, you notice it here. If you already have that, you retain it. If you do not have dual zone, by doing this upgrade, you will get single zone. So these buttons over here will actually be inactive. So you're always going to want to keep it on sync. So as the driver adjusts the temperature, the passenger does the same thing. So you won't necessarily be able to use the slider or these buttons, okay? It's a single zone temperature control. The app section here allows you to get into the settings menu. You have a whole wide array of different settings with a 12-inch screen. It's awesome. One thing, as I mentioned, audio settings. The UAV and the UAX, as I mentioned, the bass is pretty loud, so I kind of just adjust it maybe a little bit to kind of even it out. You get a nice sound. You can come in here similar to the UAV as well and adjust the theme. So there's different themes you can choose from, which is pretty neat. Different colors and wallpapers. Okay, navigation. Look how nice and pretty that screen is, man. So you get the pinch to zoom. You can do, let's get into nav settings here, a map appearance. You can do the 3D, 2D, you name it, right? So there's a whole bunch of settings within the navigation that you can do. Just like the other nav systems we carry, you can go to where to, enter in your home address, your work address. It's just a touch of a button and you're ready to go. The directions also, turn-by-turn directions, actually show up in your EVIC, your cluster, which is kind of neat. So that's pretty cool. But look at that, like the Tesla-style screen right here in your Ram truck. Just an awesome system, guys. And then phone here, you're going to want to repair your phone, so hit yes, follow the prompts to pair your phone. Backup cam, that's just something that was added here as a soft key. You do also obviously retain the zoom feature for those of you who have the hitch. But yes, you put the vehicle in reverse, you will get that as well. Something else I wanted to point out is the Apple CarPlay. So you're going to plug your lightning cable in and then into your phone. Then you notice here it pops right up. So now you have full functionality of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay right here on your 12-inch screen. You can select your bottom card here, so if you want to be able to control the climate and do the Apple CarPlay on the top, you can do that. You can also do media, so on and so forth, whatever you're listening to, whether you're listening to something maybe on Spotify, you want it to be shown down there, you can do that as well. It's great to kind of have that split screen here. It does have album art, which is really neat as well. So just an awesome system here. If you go behind in the video a little bit, I did do a quick tutorial on the Apple CarPlay. If you happen to have Android, take a look at our YouTube channel. We do a full Android Auto demo as well. One more thing I wanted to point out, which is pretty cool. The Sirius, it's really neat with this as they do logos for your radio stations. So it's really neat as you're scrolling through, you know, finding what you want to listen to. You get the actual art of the station itself. So it's pretty neat. And then if you're listening to a specific artist, it'll show their album as well. So just really cool there. But what an awesome system, guys. We got this all figured out. FCA just released the update, which makes this also possible. So it's a combination of things, a combination of programming in-house, a combination of OBD-Genie, the harnessing, and the latest firmware update that we were able to help develop. So here at Infotainment.com, we do so much more than just radio upgrades. We get into all sorts of cool things, not just also for Ram, but also Jeep and Dodge and Chevy and Ford, Toyota, Nissan, you name it. We carry a lot of different cool products on our website. All factory parts pre-programmed to plug and play. That's Infotainment.com. Now, we're in the Ram truck, as I mentioned, 2019 and up. Let's talk about a few things we do for the Ram. So we also do headlights. So you can do the LED strip on the bottom. We do have plug-and-play headlights you could put in this truck. Moving your way back, we do replacement clusters. Okay, so it'll have the nice big digital display pre-programmed to the mileage, engine hours, idle, and idle hours of your particular truck. That's an awesome upgrade. Power folding mirrors. Those of you who have the heavy-duty truck with that want to add tow mirrors or that have tow mirrors, there's nothing more annoying than pulling into your garage or the ATM and having to pull it in manually. We have it all with the touch of a button for Ram 1500 through 5500 power folding mirror plug and play upgrades. Another great one we do is the leather seating. So we're an authorized cat skin vendor. These are factory-like leather covers. We actually have videos that show you how to put leather in your truck. Furthermore, blind spot monitoring. What a great safety feature. We're figuring that out. We're going to have that available soon on our website. So you get the indicator in your mirror when someone is approaching on either side of your vehicle. So all sorts of other stuff we're going to be getting into as far as the cargo camera, so you can keep an eye on your payload, trailer cameras, 360 cameras. There's just a wide array of things that we work on here every day at Infotainment.com. So come check us out, guys. Thanks for watching. Alright guys, I had mentioned earlier in the video, for you heavy-duty customers, 2500 through 5500, the security gateway module is located behind the cluster. So we have written instructions, but I'm also going to show you guys briefly how to remove the cluster to gain access to that module. So the first thing you're going to do is remove the two screws that hold your radio or your center stack bezel in place. Once you remove those two 7mm screws, you can just pull it from the dash. Then what you're going to want to do is use a pry tool to get this little bezel surround. You're just going to pop it out of place. On the top here, it's actually put in through the top, just a few clips. So you pull that down, and then this completely pulls out. You can set that aside. Now what you're going to want to do is pull off the left side here. There's just a little clip here. Pull off the right side here, just held in with clips. Then there's going to be two screws you want to remove. So remember, two on top of your center stack bezel, and then two screws here. Now what you want to do is just pull this part back, held in with retaining clips, and it's going to give you access to another screw here. You pull off the left side, and there's going to be another lower screw there. So there's 4 screws that hold this shroud in. Once you remove those screws, just pull back on the shroud. That gives you access to the 2 screws that hold in the cluster to the dash here, and then you can remove the 2 screws there. So in summary, there's 2 screws up here, 4 screws that hold your shroud in, 2 screws that hold your cluster in. Now all you have to do is just remove the cluster, and right behind it is the security gateway module. Go ahead and disconnect those two connectors and plug them into the bypass.